Welcome to the first episode of Maximum Production, a podcast brought to you by Holstein Friesian New Zealand about all things cow related. I'm your host, Amelia, and today's guest, who has not only been a part of Holstein Friesian for many, many years, was on our board of directors for 14, 3 of which she was president. She's a TOP inspector and classifier. She's been a senior judge. I could go on and on and on. She is the wealth of knowledge, Miss Wendy Harker.
Thank you, Amelia.
So Wendy Harker is part of the West Isle Holsteins and Milking Shorthorns breed. So welcome, Wendy.
Thank you.
So today's topic is all about getting into the pedigree world and what to do when you buy your first animal, I guess. So Wendy, you've been in that area for years in a great way. You've been such a strong member of the pedigree world. So I'm hoping you might be able to answer some of these questions. So I guess the questions are like, what do you do? How do you get into showing? What do you do in relation to breeding? So let's start easy. Wendy, why don't you tell us how you got into breeding pedigrees?
Well, my parents weren't pedigree breeders. But my dad always had a love for cows, and I think I just inherited that. It was always my happy place with cows, and calf club was the absolute best day of school. That was always the highlight of the year, and strangely enough, I've still got progeny from that. One of my calf club calves is still in our herd, so really enjoy having that connection with the past. So never really grew out of calf club. Wanted to keep on.
I don't think anyone ever grows out of calf club.
So always had the passion for showing and just being around cows. So I was lucky enough to live down the road from Bruce and Colleen Craig, and Bruce got me into doing calf club judging, and then introduced me to the pedigree Holstein world and showing, so I could get the chance to lead a calf around again. I was very much amateur, started very much at the bottom ranks. I think I went 5 years before getting above last place, but God loves a trier, and I kept trying.
You never gave up. That's the best part.
Never gave up, and just kept on at it, and just got so much from it, particularly with the people and the contacts in the world. That was the real fun. But I got to work with animals and just meet some fabulous people. So,
and let's be honest, cows are some of the best animals out there.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, they're great. They were my stress relief. If I had any kind of bad days, you'd go out, and a cow was always pleased to see you.
They were. You were their feed tickets. So yes. Yeah, they are always happy to see you.
Yeah.
So where did you buy your first pedigree animal from?
Well, again, because my father was also very passionate about the cows, we're very fortunate that he kind of helped us get into a couple of animals. And I think some of the first ones were bought from John and Ann Cockram, actually, particularly some of the first successful ones that we bought. We didn't actually buy a lot of cows in. We did kind of a couple of base cows that we thought would improve our herd, and then used good quality bulls all the way to improve the whole herd at the same time as what I was trying to do with the show animal. It's probably why I stood at last place for quite some time, because I did it the slow way.
You didn't specifically try to breed for that show cow?
I had a selection that I knew were more likely to be show cows, and so I specifically bred those ones to give me a show calf in the future. And of course, everybody knows it's pure luck that you get the right fall of genetics at the...
Oh, yeah, it can go one way or the other. It's very 50-50 on where things are going to end up.
Always where you expect to find the show animal. In fact, with some of my better ones that I had a good run with actually just came out of just good average cows that just connected with the right bulls, and so they left a nice animal to work with. And my goal with breeding was always to The showing I considered a hobby, so I didn't want the whole herd bred for show animals. I was trying to increase the conformation of everyone in the production for practical purposes, and then have fun with showing on the sideline. So, yeah, just used a range of bulls, much to my AB technician's disgust.
Poor David.
Yes, very fortunate that I've got a very understanding technician, who I happen to be my husband, that put up with me using a whole range of bulls for different purposes.
And as I mentioned before, you didn't only have Holsteins.
No, once again, my father had a real passion for shorthorns, and I did inherit his love of pretty colours. So consequently, I didn't end up just with black and white Holstein Friesians. I ended up with red and white Holstein Friesians, and then milking shorthorns as well.
And the jerseys.
And there were some jerseys, and there was a brown Swiss. And when we did our final dispersal, an Ayrshire sneaked in there as well. So
you've got to, spread it around, absolutely. Try different things.
And again, the philosophy was a good cow's not a bad colour, but I enjoyed working with the Holstein Friesians just because of the range of genetics that you could choose from, that you could make big improvements really quickly because you could choose which genetics that you wanted to breed for. And it was kind of, my goal was always to have a herd of really good uddered, smaller stature frames, but with had plenty of width and capacity. So capacity and udders was always my breeding goal. And I was always wanting to show animals that reflected that. So we could never have the extreme height of that perhaps was favourable for a while. And it's
those
lovely.
The
North American extreme animals cows, was never going to work on our farm full term. But I still had plenty of success with just showing the types of animals that I liked. So, and showing was always about presenting your type of cow. So it didn't matter where you came in the lineup at times. Like it was always nice to be at the top, but I always took the attitude, no matter what type of cow you were leading, it's about showing that animal off and being proud of it. And I loved having the Westell name in front of it so that you were showing off your own breeding and what you could do. So it just wasn't about the red ribbon because that fades. But
my dad always saw it that way as well. Yeah. He never liked showing things that we never bred ourselves. If it had the Lockhaven name against it, he felt a lot more prouder in himself for even if it placed 4th or 5th than if he was taking someone else's breeding out there, because he'd put the effort in and done the choices to get that animal to where it was.
And there's no shame in buying an animal and showing it, because that's your starting point. But it's really nice when you can breed from that animal yourself.
Yeah, and then you get to go further with it because
with your stud
brought
name.
That base cow that you can work off of.
Yeah.
Which is where everyone's got to start at some point. You can't all start at the top.
No.
You've got to work your way to get there.
And it's also being very confident in the type of animal that you're breeding, because not everybody wants the same type of cow. So choose the type of animal that you want, that suits your situation, and be proud of what you're doing. You don't have to follow the crowd all the time. Just be very confident. You learn what you want and then breed towards it. Be consistent and breed towards it.
And I guess it's the thing, being involved in a breed society like Holstein Friesian New Zealand or Milking Shorthorns or whatever other ones you're a part of, is that in every breed society you've got multiple types of people. You've got the show farmers, you've got the bull breeder farmers, you've got the just like cows farmers. So we've got all different types of things. So getting involved in pedigrees doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to show stock.
Correct.
And I think that was really evident with the Westell stud at your dispersal sale last year, was that you had this widespread of, you had a few that had produced bulls that had gone out there to LIC and CRV, and then you had some daughters of and successful show cows in themselves, and then you had your, what everyone calls this, your commercial base.
Good production cows.
So I think your herd was a good example of all the different aspects of pedigree stock.
Yes, but that involved a lot of balls in the bull tank for AB, which is
Again,
not always a good idea, but it was fun and it made springtime interesting because
as long as David puts the right straw in the right cow.
Yes, that has been an issue.
But it did produce some pretty cows.
I'm nearly over that. Nearly over having a sexed alcove straw put into a milking shorthorn cow. That was.
But it was a
But it
very
happens.
pretty mistake.
Yes. Yep.
So I don't think you can go bad at David for that.
Right.
So how about we start off with what you think people should consider before they purchase their first animal?
I think it's really important to just decide what the purpose of the animal that you're buying is for. So whether you want to buy her as a potential bull mother, so you're looking at indexes and the ability to produce and really what the bull companies are after, or whether you're looking for a show animal and the potential to breed, and you're also looking at your budget because there's some very expensive animals out there.
Oh, yes, very much so.
Yes. So it's really keeping your mind on what you can afford and whether you're going to be milking the animal, whether it's going to be milked on the farm. There's a whole range of things to take into account. So, and it's the type of animal that you like. So, but do take into account, I've found for less risk of the animal, cow families pay, as in that if you've got a good strong pedigree behind the animal, that even if she hasn't quite either done the production or she might be a sister on the same family line that's done predominantly well, that's really good choice. So, and it's just about narrowing down the odds of it being a good one versus a poorer purchase. So your good cow families is always essential there. Have a look at the TAP behind it and really get to know how to understand a pedigree. There's lots and lots of information in there. If you're uncertain, ask. Breeders are absolutely fantastic. And as my husband would tell you, breeders love talking about cows.
Oh, yes. Yes, they do.
Yeah, and they will do it for a long time.
Yes. Yes,
and
they will.
And they are most willing to part with information. The source of knowledge out there. So ask about cow families. Ask advice from if there's particular cows that you've seen out at a show or walk through a herd, go and ask the owner. They're more than happy to pass on any information or families that have worked for them or bulls. So just use the resource out there because we love to talk about cows.
Yes, you all do love to talk about. Right, so now that let's say you've purchased your first cow.
Yes.
Right? So where would be your next step? You've brought this cow, shall we say, mainly just to be a starter cow, not necessarily going to be your take her into the show ring next week, but be your starter cow. She's in a commercial herd. If you're a farm assistant, like a lot of our young ones are, they don't have their own studs yet or anything like that. They're wanting to get into it. She's in a commercial herd. Where would your next step be going there?
Probably so if you've bought an animal, you really want to breed from her. Like that's for you, for a young breeder, it's setting up the next family. So it's the big choice of what to breed to. And again, so it's back to your goals. What type of animals are you trying to breed? Be prepared to question semen reps. They've got a lot of information at their fingertips on the bulls, and with particularly the use of genomics as a tool and overseas bulls, there's a lot of information that you can use to choose a sire that's going to fit your breeding pattern. The likes of Ryan Lett from CMEX, always willing to talk to you, Craig Robinson from Worldwide Sires, Sarman, our local rep,
Ernst,
is absolutely fabulous. So they've all got a wealth of information, and I know those three that I've dealt with have been all very good about not trying to tell me what type of cow I want. It's me telling them what they want and what I want, and then them presenting a range of bulls that may fit my criteria.
Yeah, I think that's the important thing now. Is a few years ago, people, especially new getting into breeding, it was your AB rep told you what you should be doing. So I think it is really important for people that are starting to get into it to know what they want.
Yes.
And not be afraid to tell the rep, no, this is what I want.
And that's very much whether you want to put emphasis on udder, whether you want to put it on to indexes, or just the raw fat percentage and protein percentage, so that you're getting the type of animal. Because at the end of the day, it still has to produce milk and make a profit. So
and milk solids.
Yes, and everything else. So don't be afraid to ask questions. If it's a New Zealand-based animal, or that you want to continue with the companies from New Zealand, LAC and CRV, there's lots of information that you can get either on their websites, and again, looking at the individual traits, and look within the BW, so that again you can choose within the BW breeding values whether you want a tall animal, whether you want it with good udders, and then make your own selection. So you're then going to your AB reps with the information that you want, and actually tell them what you want rather than them tell you. So it's just getting that confidence, and ask around. Again, the breeders within the association, within any breed, will talk cows and bulls for ages. Go out and see daughters of bulls out there, or in the genomic cases, if it's a sire of a young genomic bull, go out and ask breeders how they worked in their herds and whether they're recommended. Or there's no perfect bull. There's
we've been trying for multiple years, and it's still not happened yet.
There is no perfect bull. So
we haven't developed the perfect cow yet either, so that could be why.
Exactly. So though I must admit that I tend to blame the father if there's anything wrong. Totally unbiased. But it is really about just picking on the traits that you want to work on. So, and don't be afraid to question reps to see whether the bull that you want to choose is actually going to meet your goals.
So I mentioned before that you weren't just part of like the Holstein Friesian Association, you're a member of multiple breed societies. Why do you think breed societies are important for young ones getting into it?
It gives you contacts with people. It's the people that make the breed societies. It's just the source of information, and the friendships, because we're all crazy about the same thing. I've really enjoyed the contact with seeing the young ones develop through, and see that particularly at youth camps, watching, which you've really been involved with.
Oh, yes, those kids are my children. I don't need to have children of my own. I've got multiple out there.
and it's just that network, that them meeting up and making lifelong friends, because I've got the same passion, because there's other crazy people out there that love cows too. That's so rewarding to see, and love seeing them succeed out in the show ring. It's amazing.
I think it's been amazing. So this year marked my 6th youth camp. And I can tell you right now, they're pretty draining. I feel like each youth camp's added about 5 years to my life. And I've had kids since the 2019 youth camp when I started it that never knew each other to now best mates. And they went from attending these youth camps as newbies when they were 15, 16, 17 to now helping me organize them and helping run it, just with the connections that they've made. And it's amazing. I love, as you said, I love watching these kids out there. I attended the Waipa Club show in early February, and the amount of kids that were there that you're like, oh, that kid, I remember when they were this big.
That's it. And only just starting, and it's really lovely to see the parents supporting these kids through and supporting them, buying them animals or sharing the passion with them.
Or even
really
just providing the food.
Yes.
You know,
so just being there. But
so, like you, Wendy, your show team was made up of kids that weren't from farming backgrounds.
So they had connections with farms, but none of them actually lived on farms themselves, and they were amazing. We took a team of 12 animals to Waikato Show, and it was supported by my dad, the truck driver, and my mum, the cook, and actually there was 5 young ones, and we did everything. We showed the whole lot, and the oldest one was at that stage maybe 15, and they worked their butt off. But boy,
they're hard workers.
They're hard workers, and they're amazing. But they were clipping. They're doing everything themselves. So really neat to see them do that.
They've come from that, where you've got like the ones that mainly come to my mind is Brad Seeger and Jay Seebeck, and neither of them were from farms, and now Brad is.
Both of them are farming
just outside of Te Awamutu, and Jay's just outside of Odo. And they've both done it. You've helped guide that, but they've done it themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
They've taken that passion that they had just liking cows and gone out there and have used that knowledge, which is great to see. And I think it just is a testament to you and.
But they've also done it. I started them off. They've had really good input from other breeders, which has been really neat to see. And as I say, the joys of joining up with the Breed Society is just the contact. You never do it alone.
So for showing purposes, an animal needs to be registered to be shown. So that is an important part of joining up to a Breed Society, is that then you can register that animal and make sure that you register the family lines, especially the rules state with Holstein Friesian, they need to be an S1F. I guess that's another aspect of the importance of using them and getting those benefits out of it.
Yes, and even something to consider when you're purchasing an animal, that you need the recorded ancestry behind it and the more information behind it. It was, again, about trying to buy the right animal to suit your purposes. So to have it registered, I think, is a really necessary thing to really look out for. You just got more surety and more information behind the animal, and continuing registering them in the future. Certainly, as a calf, when the first calf's first born, or in the first year of showing as a calf, it just needs to be eligible for registration. So it means that it would, if you registered it, it would be S1F and beyond. So it has to have Holstein Friesian sire.
And it needs to be an F12,
yes,
I think, yeah. And I know it's different for different breed societies, and I'm not going to attempt to spit off what it is for the other breed societies. You'll need to check with the individual breed societies in regards to that. But I'm sure that for the Holsteins it's F12 and an S1F.
Yes.
And that is checked by us for those major shows as well. We try to make sure that everything does meet the requirements as best as possible.
Yeah. And if you're not sure, ring the association and
ask. We're always happy to answer questions.
Ring Amelia. She'll help.
Yeah, that's pretty much everyone's answer now. Just ring Amelia. Amelia will answer your questions for you.
Yeah.
I guess another side of getting into pedigrees would be along the sides of if you wanted to breed bulls. Now, you've had a couple of bulls go into AB companies, as I mentioned before, but you never specifically breed for that, did you?
I always had the attitude that I wanted to breed the type of bulls that would be suitable for us. And so I had a high concentration on the udders, and ours were slightly bigger. So I always wanted to stick with my own breeding goals, not what I thought a breeding company would like. But again, because of the range of genetics available in the Holstein Friesian, I found a couple of options that I could do both with, that I could maintain the type and still ended up with pretty good indexes in the end. So to breed a bull, if a AB company, doesn't matter which AB company, suggests the sire to put over your precious animal, make sure you look that bull meets the goals. Don't get too excited about, yay, they want a bull out of my cow family, because they literally contract mate over 1,000 animals, and there is 30 to 40 bulls of each breed, that would be overstating it, I think now, actually selected for purchase. So, and if you happen to get a heifer calf from that mating, that's 1 year's breeding that's been dedicated to that particular bull. So make sure that the progeny actually meet your breeding criteria, not the companies that are suggesting it. So
make sure you're going to want to milk her.
Exactly. So if you've got a really good animal, she deserves the best consideration, and you have got the right to choose which bull is mated to that animal.
And don't be afraid to say no.
And don't be afraid to say no.
Just, they do have other options.
Yes.
The one that they're saying to you is just what they think is the best option.
Yes.
It's not necessarily the best option out there.
And is meeting their breeding criteria. And if that doesn't match up with your breeding criteria, there's no point in doing it. So you've also got breeding options with regards to, there's a lot of options out there for doing ET work or ovum pickups. So you could make sure you price out exactly.
Yep.
What
ET work can be quite expensive, so make sure that you understand what you're getting into.
It's really good when it goes well. It can be very expensive. So just be prepared for the good and the bad. Don't just dream about having another 6 heifer calves on the ground. Classic example of that would be this year I had 13 embryos being born, all of which I was very excited about. And I managed to end up with 11 of those being bull calves, of which didn't have quite enough index or value to the industry. So the 2 remaining heifer calves are very, very expensive calves if you looked at the end of it. So when you're starting out, that mightn't be an expense that some people can afford. So just be wary about just doing that type of thing. Make sure you know what you're getting in for. If there is no market for the bulls, consider sex semen option. And as I say, don't be sucked into the dream too much. Really look for the value of return on some of those ones. You might be better looking at using a range of good bulls over animals that you have, rather than investing all your eggs in one basket and it not coming off. So I'm just saying, just do things with your eyes open.
I would agree with that. I guess another option for people is, we have the Discovery Project with Holstein Friesian New Zealand, which you're on that committee, have been for many years. So with that, you'll possibly have to explain it better than what I can, but it's your heifers, if they meet the requirements, can be nominated for it, and that is an ET program that goes through LIC?
Yes, so that's in conjunction with LIC, and you can choose which operator that does the work in that system. There's 3 options of out in the market at the moment with Vitelli, ABS and Overachievers. The farms, and we actually had the heifers at our place this year, if you choose to send them to a farm like ours, a donor farm that does all the collection for you, that's through Vitelli, comes to our place and does the ovum pickup. And again, it can be really hit and miss whether we've seen cases where heifers have performed really, really well and produced lots of eggs and lots of embryos, and in the other cases when there's maybe 1 or 2. So that is slightly unpredictable. And interestingly enough, the ones that have been high producive embryos, it doesn't necessarily reflect on their fertility. It's just that some work with it and some don't. But it is a good opportunity, because on those cases, they are just paying per embryo produced, rather than going through the complete costs and then just finding out how many embryos. So unless you actually have an embryo and resulting, you don't pay for it. So and there is a possible market for bulls and heifers out of those ones. But again, bearing in mind that not all bulls produced through Discovery are then purchased by LIC. it's only the very top of them. So it's just be wary of the cost.
So if we go back to showing, if you decided you want to show your animal, where's the best place to get started there?
Depending on your age group, I would always recommend trying to hook up with another fellow breeder or somebody that's also keen on showing. You learn so much from each other, and it will give you the basics of expectations in the show ring, how many hours to put on a cow for being in milk. I started off showing calves in young stock so that I got used to going to the show, made contacts, and
it's easier.
It's easier.
So much easier.
There's just so much less risk.
You don't have to worry about the milking times. You don't have to worry about trying to clip an udder, anything like that. It's a lot smaller, a lot easier to put on a trailer rather than getting a truck.
Yeah. So kind of if you're just starting, I totally recommend doing calves and yearlings to get into it, get used to the process, make contacts, and I am sure you'll be hooked up if you're keen and a keen helper, particularly if you're keen to do night shift.
It's the fun.
Because it's so much fun.
So much fun.
Yeah. If you want to do that, just hook on with another breeder, and there are so many people out there that are wanting helpers, and
people always want to add to their show crew.
More the merrier, and it doesn't take much just to tie up another couple of animals beside somebody's animals anyhow. So
you're already going.
Yeah, already going, shared resources, shared knowledge, and a whole lot of fun.
Do you reckon start with the little shows?
Yes. Yeah, though you can go straight into dairy event, but it certainly is more high powered. I prefer the little shows. It's just you just get, even for the animals themselves, if they're not used to being shown, it's a big scary experience.
It's just as exhausting for the animals as it is for the people if you've never done anything like that before.
It is, and I don't like to take animals away to the big shows where you're staying 2 or 3 nights at any one place without them actually being really used to being hauled around the ring, or
the trucking for long distances, things like that.
And if, like I always had young kids helping me, so for safety reasons, I needed animals that were easy to handle and were safe to be around. So
that's understandable.
Yeah, however, there was, I have seen
those bulletproof cows are a lot safer.
They still, animals still are prone to being
but
getting a free. But again, it's just about reducing the risk, and it's a whole lot more pleasant for everyone if the animal's happy as well as you are. So little shows, and there's some really good little shows around, more little shows coming up.
As I said before, you just had the Waipā Club show.
Waipā Club show.
It's a great little one day, just bring them along.
Bring them along, have fun, go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole lot less stress.
It's a great little community at that Waipā Club as well.
Yes, yeah, and everybody's welcome along there. So it's just go along, join in, and ask questions.
I guess the other thing, as we mentioned before, the youth camps.
Youth camp is huge.
You've helped me out a couple of years with those. Great helper Wendy is.
Yeah, and it's the connections, because the people that as has happened in the past, the ones that we asked to come along to help demonstrate or show the clipping are always after young helpers. So it's just making those connections. So they love having really young clean kids.
Very much so, because we run youth camp right at the start of the year just before dairy events. Yes. So if anyone's a little bit short on helpers for dairy event, normally they can fill their team up by the end of youth camp.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, yeah, there is a lot of people out there that are willing to help, and they can always contact us as well. Yes. We have a lot of connections of who's showing, and I'm always willing to help people wherever they can.
And join them with your local club if you can. Some of them aren't, they mightn't be that active, but there's still branch field days where you're going through herd walks, and there's CMEX on farm competitions, and there's still competitions going that just join in. And it, as I say, it doesn't matter if you don't get placed, you'll always learn learn something.
It's not always about winning.
No.
I think when you're getting into showing, I think it's more about you showing off, as you said before, the animal that you like.
Yes.
It's not really about getting that red ribbon.
Yeah.
Someone said to me before, red ribbons fade,
Yes.
but the memories of actually doing it is what lasts forever. So if you've got that you put that animal out there, that's what's important to you, not necessarily getting that red ribbon at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
Have you got any other sparks of wisdom when it comes to getting into pedigrees, Wendy?
Just enjoy it. As I say, it's the people. Don't be afraid to get involved. It's the people that will make it. You'll learn so much from it. I've got into a lot of things because I didn't say no, and sometimes it makes me really, really busy, but the vast majority, it's either increased my knowledge, it's increased the number of people that I know, and has given me an additional skill that has been valued or that I really value. So it's only by giving things a go, and I know judging's not for everybody, but give it a go because you can learn a lot just even in your breeding. Don't be afraid to ask judges questions, or just really utilise the knowledge out there, because people are so good at sharing, and there's some really fabulous people out there.
Pedigree breeders to me are a special breed of person.
Yes.
Because I've worked with commercial farmers for years, and when you come and being brought up on a pedigree farm, always used to dealing with the people that love their cows. And I've always found dealing with pedigree farmers, they just love their cows.
Yes.
That's their main focus on their life, is that doesn't matter whether it is a show cow or their top bull breeding dam, or it's just their daisy in the corner.
Yeah.
They just love them. And you walk through the herd with them and they can tell you about every single cow.
Yes.
What she's done, who her dam is, what she's in calf to, everything like that. And it's, to me, is I think the most incredible thing about pedigree breeders throughout New Zealand.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what colour the cow is.
No, and it doesn't matter. You can choose. It's probably the biggest thing from my point of view is really just choose what type of cow that you want, and do what you do well. As in, if you want a particular style of animal, go for it, and just do it with purpose. So, and you're never too old to learn new stuff. And certainly, the young ones, the youth camp, I used to always like going along, and I think I've learned just as much as the young ones over the time, because just listening to others, you always learn something, and that's what I enjoy. I always enjoy learning.
What is your favourite memory in regards to being part of pedigrees or showing?
Oh, it's a toughie. Probably the one that sticks out for me would be winning the All Breeds Junior Calf with a milking shorthorn calf, just because it hadn't really been done before. They were a minority breed. They were very rarely shown in the All Breed section at that stage, and it was part of the goals of mine to actually lift the shorthorns up to a standard where they could compete in the All Breeds and were a genuine dairy cow. So that was a real thrill for me, and again, because it meant so much to my parents. So that was kind of a joint one. But as I say, I struggle with, other than that moment, it is really the fun times that we've had at shows and amongst the group and the young ones, and seeing them succeed. So there's a whole bunch of memories, even seeing the likes of Thomas J do well in the judging.
Oh, that kid's come from
competition, we know.
Nowhere.
And I know Julie Perry's been just such a great supporter in getting these young ones through, and all credit to her. But the first time I seen him judge, I always knew he could judge cows, but he just had no confidence to speak.
He's such a quiet spoken person, very intelligent, knows everything about cows,
Yeah.
but just very quiet spoken.
So kind of just little wins like that to see him come through and have the confidence
Really
to,
neat guy.
yeah, to speak gives me just as much of a buzz now as actually me taking my own animals out. So every time a youth one that you've been happen to have some contact with does well, just brings me joy.
I feel the exact same way, Wendy. With all these kids that have come through youth camp, whenever they get little wins, like Annie won the Worldwide Sires last year, secretly I have this proud mama moment. That I know they're not my kids, but it's just so, you feel so proud for them and that you got to be a part of seeing where that person went in life.
Yeah, for those ones. So that's probably my, certainly in the past few years, those have been my happy moments.
So thank you, Wendy, for giving up your time today to come and talk with me. As we've said, there's a lot in the pedigree world, so don't be afraid to get involved. And thanks everyone for listening. We will be back next month with a new episode and a new guest.